Hello, folks. Is my sound on? I've been frantically trying to fix everything here behind the scenes, and I think I have most of it covered. A lot of boomer moments, but here we are, and welcome. Yeah, sound is great. Thank you, Wendy. Well, as you might have seen on the thumbnail, I have a hard time letting the Zachariah Anderson trial and conviction go. And I have a few things to discuss with you, to bring forward. But I also saw that Dragonfly Lady in the chat has asked really, really good questions. So let's try to get to those, because some of them actually involved what I'm trying to figure out as well. Let's see here. Part 1. I have been reviewing witness testimony, and I wonder if the jury caught the fact that the daughter claimed that there was carpet and then that stains were not there before. Yeah, I was a bit curious about that myself. It's very, very unclear in her testimony about the missing carpet and how she knew there were stains. To play a devil's advocate, she could have been talking about stains on the remaining carpet, but it was very, very unclear, and that should have been addressed by the defense, because as you say, Dragonfly, how did she know there were no stains under the carpet if there were no carpet? And if she remembered from the time where it was carpet, how did she know there were no stains under it? It's very peculiar. Then see here, part 2, covering the floor. I don't think the defense questioned her about that a little bit, but not to the extent you would want. Why didn't the defense call Zach's brother or father to testify? I don't know. Maybe they were trying to limit the prosecution's opportunities to cross-examine, since I have no idea about the brother or father, what their history is, if there's anything that the prosecution can point at that might open doors for the prosecution to add on witnesses later on. So short answer, I don't know, but we do know from the defense opening that their focus would be at the absolute lack of investigations outside of Zach Anderson. So that might be why they didn't, but that's pure speculation from my part. Part 3, both the father and brother could have been used to show. Yeah. Also, why didn't defense call their own DNA blood expert? There could be 2 reasons for that. First is from the playing the devil's advocate again, they might not have found one that could testify to them. Number 2, they don't have unlimited resources in the defense. They might not even been able to afford it. Number 3, well, let's go back to my previous answer. They were very focused on the prosecution's lack of investigation, the Kenosha police, how they zoned in on Zachariah early on and never strayed away from that part. Me personally, I wish they had, and that brings me into one of the things that is really, really bothering me. And now, again, I do not give legal advice. This is what I'm saying can't be used as evidence in Kenosha court. It is me speculating based on information I have gathered or studied around this. And when it comes to blood testimony, I asked a friend of mine who is in law enforcement, not a cop, but he is a coroner's assistant not sure, but he works as a coroner. So I asked him, he doesn't know anything about this case, so I just gave him the basics. A pool of blood, roughly, and now the actual pool, not the driplets around, the actual pool of blood is about 1.5 foot. That's my estimation. Yeah, I know the gray rug was there and there was some stripes there and stripes there, but roughly that. How and carpet, I don't know the depth of it, but standard carpet. And his estimate, well, he said that depends on humidity, depends on how warm it is, very, very many factors. So his best guesstimate, to say it so, was between 30 and 40 hours. So it's an enormous span there. But then I did math. And if the prosecution says that he was ended at the 17th between 9:37 and 10 o'clock, and then lunchtime, so guess again a guess, on the 19th, the police came there to investigate. So that brings you to Jesus Christ. 10 to 10 on the 18th is 24 hours. To 10, well, roughly 36 hours later, the police entered the apartment. This is a guess. I don't know the exact times, and I don't remember if they testified to the exact times. But that is well within my mate's guesstimate as to how long it would take for that pool to dry. And then you have the testimony in the trial that there were footprints with blood that the prosecution couldn't say was from Zach or from the officers. Now, as far as I remember, it was not from work boots, which they claim he was wearing, which then logically means that it might be from a police officer. This means that this pool of blood must have been wet enough to transfer from the rug to the sole of the shoe, and then also being transferred enough to leave a shoe print elsewhere. That leaves to me too much of a space where the timeline of what the prosecution says, 9:37 to 10 o'clock, and that's the time where they claim, because that is the only time where they can put, in theory, Mr. Zachariah Anderson at the scene, in theory. And that leaves more minutes on either end. If there are 5 minutes more on either end, then it won't fit with his phone pinging that he's home. That's the extreme narrowness of that timeline. And I wish, as I said, this is not I'm checking the chat meanwhile. Sorry if I interrupt myself, trying to figure out if you join me in on questions and stuff like that. Well, 9:37 is when he didn't answer his junior, when he didn't answer if it was a text or a phone call or whatever it was. So they put him 9:37 to 10 o'clock, maybe at 10 o'clock, because between there is the only way they can put Zachariah Anderson at the scene. And if the blood is still wet enough after 36 to 38 to 40 hours later for it to transfer, that, to me, it leaves too much information there that Mr. Guterres, he might have been killed at 10 o'clock on the 17th, but there is really nothing that says he wasn't any time between the night of the 17th to maybe the night of the 18th. And that ruins the prosecution's case totally. And I wish that the defense had brought something on that line in as well, just to broaden the area, the timeline for Mr. Guterres to have disappeared. I'm still at now. Now the jury has found a verdict, and I have to say this: until appeal says otherwise, in the eye of the law, he is considered guilty. So that is the baseline, the new baseline, unfortunately. Do I agree with it? Absolutely not. But that is the new reality. Yeah. Let's see. Why did the defense call the girlfriend of? I have no idea. Yeah, I agree. I have no idea. But even if they hadn't, I believe that the prosecution would have, because there was enough statements from the ex-girlfriend and her sister to call either one of them. So I don't think that mattered too much. And then Zach's family was at his daughter's birthday party at mom's house. Why didn't the defense call the family to show the real relationship between Sadie and Zach? This might have been a pre-trial ruling. I don't have access to the pre-trial rulings, but and again, I said that earlier, that it might have been because the defense didn't want to risk opening doors and I don't know Zach's family. I've seen them around in different chats. I've seen the Facebook group, and So I don't know. I simply don't. In my best guess, the defense didn't want to risk opening doors. Thank you so much for your questions, Dragonfly Lady. Very, very much. Sorry. Appreciated. Now, these are some of the evidence that I'm having issues with, why it wasn't more in. And then the new reality we have is also the broader picture about trials and juries, and what is expected of the expectation of juries is that they come in to the courtroom, they are sworn in, and the baseline should be that guy is innocent. Prove me wrong. But the broader picture is that reality anymore. And I said this in an earlier, if it was a video or my stream, an earlier video, that this has been like a boiling frog situation. You can't put the frog into boiling water, it will jump out, but if you put it down and then slowly turn up the heat, it will stay there. And the same with the general population's associations with the phrase innocent until proven guilty. And I used an example for like the old 90s reality cop shows that has been going on for 30, 40 years. That they start every program with the people you see here are innocent until proven guilty and in a court of law. And the next 30 minutes, an hour, you see people obviously breaking the law. And that has seeped into the minds of not just Americans, but overall, that the mindset had changed. I don't trust the government to be right all the time. Prove it. To, well, they arrested him. They prosecuted him. A grand jury. He must have done something. And that's a really, really dangerous place. And we were discussing that on Legal Vice's stream and on Aussie Overlord's stream. And Steve Gosney had some great insight on that. I wish he was on YouTube, but he is on Rumble. You assume it was better in the good old days. No, we somehow yes and somehow no. I'm not American, so but we do know about the Innocence Project and that they have a lot of cases to go through because there are a lot of people found guilty while they were innocent in the United States. And I heard this was on Danny Ann's stream last night when Steve Gosney was there, that I believe he said that in Florida, out of the capital punishment cases, people who have actually been executed, around 1 in 4 has been exonerated afterwards. And that's a horrible number. Now, I have no idea, I have no way to confirm this without talking to Steve Gosney. Yeah, it seems like that. But that's, what do we do to change that? Because now you have Law and Crime, Court TV, more or less bringing that narrative forward, as in this case with Zachariah. It was called the Obsessed Ex-Boyfriend Murder Trial. Yeah. Young Min Shelley. I think I already have. I have a connection already, but thank you very much. But I believe that Jeff on Legal Vices already have good connection with them. So bringing them into something would be more suitable with Jeff, who has a better understanding of the US legal system. Now, let's get into my reasoning to why I have such a hard time letting this case go. And because I have been doing not criminal cases, I've been doing labor law for over 30 years. And normally I'm having several cases at once, and I need to objectively move forward. I can refer these people to different therapists, advise them on where to seek help to move on and stuff like that. But I need to objectively move forward, and this I have a hard time, and I discovered why. And let me take you on a little road trip. Now, this is where I grew up. This is the trip I'm taking you on. This little place I grew up in is way out in the bush. But it is also about 40 minutes, 45, maybe 30 minutes, depending on how fast you drive, to a city of around 100,000 people. Not that strange away from how Mr. Anderson lived, where I believe there was a tree farm and his place and everything. And as you can see, tiny road, trees on both sides. And I grew up here. Now, this is a long time ago. So it's a better road now than it was back then. And we were, the whole, except for the city of Karlstad, that has around 100,000 inhabitants. The entire community had less than 5,000 inhabitants, the area where I grew up. And if you go exactly to where I grew up, I believe there were less than 20 houses in total. And for instance, these houses that we just passed weren't there. Let's go a bit forward here. Up here was the old mill. Now we are starting to get close. We are not really there. Over here used to be the tiny general store. It's been torn down since because I believe in the 80s the people who had it chose to retire, and their kids didn't want to continue with it. Let's move on. The bit forward, so it was about a mile away, and here we are starting to get close. That's the old school building where I grew up, and let's continue for a bit. So it has changed a bit. Now it's a soccer field. It was a soccer field back then as well. And now we are starting to get close to. Now, that, my friends, is the end of Google Roads. It doesn't go any further. That's where I grew up, at the end of the road. So, and let's get back to have the school building up. No, I don't show people where I live. This is where I grew up, and this is 40, 45, 50 years ago, something like that. So yeah, I moved I moved a lot since then, but where I'm trying to get to is the similarities I see between, because Zach and his family, Sadie Jr., those kind of people are the people I grew up around. Now this little community in the middle of nowhere, we had our issues too, and but we had more of moonshining, because this area of Sweden is, in lack of better words, it is redneck country. There are trees, there are lakes, there are rivers, moonshiners, hunters, well, everything you might associate with this. And as I said, I used to know people like Zach. I used to know people like Sadie. I used to know people like Junior. And this is why I might have such issues with letting this go, because somehow I feel the connections. And I have a friend used to have, he's sadly no longer with us, called Jan. And we had a lot of fun. Yeah, raggar country. We had a lot of fun, and we may or may not have done some interesting stuff that are, well, I'm very glad it's over 40 years ago. Gwyneth Paltrow just took the step. I'm sorry, but I simply don't really care about what's happening there. I have to say that. Yes, there might be a few people wondering. I will watch the Lawyer You Know and Ian Runkle's and Ian Runkle's broadcast of it later tonight, because you have and Rob will probably have this on his Friday night frenzy. Where was it? Yeah, me and Jan, we had a lot of interesting stuff going on, and I see similarities between him and Zach, because I won't tell you, I won't show him, I won't tell you his entire name, but he also managed to get kids with crazy, and that was a lot of yeah, it was interesting, the amount of torment she got him through, especially with the kids. Parenting alienation, stuff like that. Well, the phrase wasn't invented back then, I believe. But he more or less didn't see his kids again until they were adults. And that's why I have such a hard time letting this go, because, as I said, I feel oddly connected to these people, to Zach and his family, just because they might as well have been people I hung out with and went drinking with, went hunting with, went partying with, and just seeing this tragedy in front of me that is that trial. How easy that could have been my friend John, that she suddenly decided, no, let's bring these charges forward, not the disappearance of Junior, but more or less everything else, and how she turned the kids against him. And yeah, so I just wanted to share that with you, and that is also why I probably won't let go of this anytime soon. I know many in this LawTube segment are moving on, and I understand. Things will move on. Things will move on here at my channel as well. I have other areas to cover, but I have a file here on my computer with the information. I will keep myself updated. I will, if there is any developments in the case, I will try to cover it, not maybe on a, definitely not on a daily basis, but weekly or monthly basis, because it is in, was it in May that the sentencing is, I believe, May 16th, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it could be all of it. Oh, if you're not on your phone 24/7 and someone near you it ends up missing. Yeah, it's, yeah, I understand. Because I'm half a world away and feeling oddly connected. I can't imagine how it is for people who actually know this family. And I will try to find that picture. Sorry, I will bring this up. Yeah, I'm still getting used to this. What is called StreamYard. Dun, dun, dun. This one. This is the daughter's reality and has been so for years. And it's infuriating. Sadie knew this guy for less than 3 months, and he was actively trying to cheat on her, if he even believed they had a relationship. For him, this might just have been another booty call, and he was actively trying to find someone else. And it's creepy. If Mr. If Junior wasn't gone, this I might believe that that stalker-ish behavior might have been from Sadie towards him, because this, yeah. No, me neither. Her resting place is not far from here, and I love her dearly, and I go visit her from time to time to talk to her. But this is dangerous, and this is also why I believe that the daughter should never have been allowed to take the stand. The daughter is so clearly influenced by her mother. Now, I don't know. I'm almost speechless around how the daughter seemed to have never had her own representation. I don't know if she's been in therapy. I don't know anything about what's going on, and I feel so sorry for the daughter. Even after the testimony, how much of this is on, in my opinion, the mother. And yeah, I simply don't know what to say. I simply don't know what to say about it, other than it's shameful that the daughter didn't have her own representation from the get-go. And even the way she was interrogated by different people in the law enforcement, I haven't heard anything about a specialist in child interviews. Yeah, just a kid. And we have that notion overall. Oh, kids don't lie. Oh yeah, kids lie all the time. They lie all the time, because when they grow up, they are testing the limits. Did you break the lamp? No. And you can have picture evidence, and they try to say no. And let's see here. Oh, sorry. It was his mother's choice to allow her on the stand. Yeah, that's despicable, in my opinion. Not even. My hope for the daughter is that when she turns 18, when it's time for high school, maybe university down the line. But then again, you never know, because this is now so imprinted in that child. That's a good question. They claim that if you have the car, if the car seats were out, we don't know. That wasn't proven by the prosecution. And in that gap in between, do you even fit 270, 260, 240 pound plus, plus rug? Apparently, rope and duct taped enough to seal every end, because there were no drag marks. There were no driplets in the hallway that suggest someone carried this guy out. It was, yeah. I'm not sure what kind of van he drove, but more or less a minivan, I guess. It's not like these white construction vans with sharp end. It looked more rounded in the back. maybe it's one of these family vans with 6 or more seats type of thing, which he just tore out the seats, something of that. The prosecution says 10 o'clock at night. He didn't answer his phone call or text, or he didn't read a text at 9:37, so it's a 23-minute time span. And that's the only thing that fits with Zach being theoretically able to get there, do the deed, get home in time to pick up the phone to make it ping again. And I found it amazing and amazingly weak as evidence. I think it was a Dodge Caravan. Oh. Yeah, I can see that. But then it would be really hard to fit a 270-pound man in that one. But I simply don't know what kind of minivan he drove. Now, I don't remember how tall Mr. Guterres was, but I'm currently 6'3", 6'4", somewhere in that area. Depending on which convenience store I'm leaving, I could be 6'6". Sorry, it's a bad joke. Between around 250 pounds, 250 pounds. I could be 240, I could be 260. That depends on which end of a smorgasbord I'm currently visiting. More a family van than work van. Okay, yeah, you can see that on the back how it's slid down the trunk. Yeah, oh, that's a good question. Xcomer ZZZ. Mr. Guterres had apparently 2 cars, but the police testified towing one. And again, how, and this is really interesting. I saw that in another chat that if this happened on a Sunday, chances are the parking would be full. So where did where did Zach park? According to that, wasn't in evidence by the prosecution, and sadly, the defense, I don't remember them bringing that up. And then you have this with him not showing up in any surveillance photos, driving there, driving back to his place. That's why the prosecution said he went back alleys or something like that. And then again, if that blood smudge fell out or splattered by him just dumping in the back of the van, but now you're driving around like a maniac to get home. How does that not leave anything on the walls? If a smudge get transferred or flung out, where's the rest of it? And yeah, I don't even saying that the prosecution says that the carpet he had to take out because it must have been bloody of sorts. Well, so should the ends of the sides of the back end should have been bloody too. They weren't. You could lay him in there, bended at. Yeah, but he was rolled up in a rug. if it's rolled up in a rug, there's not much leeway to bend anything. Then he's in the rug, and according to the prosecution, he managed to seal everything up with duct tape, so that there's no bend. So at best, he had a banana shape in the back of some sorts. Thank you again, Excommer. Also find it with the blood on the couch. Someone was clearly sitting in it with blood coming from his head. Who would sit someone in a couch if they intend on killing them? So much weird. I agree, because in my opinion, the most probable or possible, let's just go with 50-50. A 50-50 scenario. Junior gets severely beaten. He is on the floor. He is bleeding. He wakes up a few hours later, sits on the couch. Oh, crap, what am I going to do now? For me, that's equally a possibility as the prosecution's case. Because as you say, Excommer, I have this trial was simply the prosecution had a narrative that they had to fit in. This must have happened. This must have happened. But they didn't let the evidence show them the truth. They had the narrative that they changed to fit in with a speck of something that might have been blood with DNA. And I say this, as I said this in my earlier video about this. Mr. Gutierrez was a smoker, as far as I know. Smoker's lung. You cough up crap all the time. I was a smoker in my 20s. I started smoking when I was about 12, 13. Ended up when I was 25-ish. Now cigars, nicotine pouches, so I'm not nicotine free. And if they call and smoker's lung are brown when you cough up shit. 48 minutes. Well, I can say shit sometimes. And if the prosecution says this hole in Zach's phone activity proves anything, then the equal holes in Mr. Gutierrez should be equal evidence. But I don't know if that was brought up in trial, and why, if it was excluded, deemed irrelevant, was a pre-trial motion. But even that, just bringing up Zach's phone records, the holes, should have been opening the door to Mr. Gutierrez's phone activity, in my opinion. And I don't know why. I really, really don't know why. Because that would equally prove that Mr. Gutierrez went to Zach's, opened it, cough, cough, tiniest little loogie gets stuck, and then he drives back home. If the evidence should be treated equal in that case, well, if there's a hole there in Zach's phone activity, here's a hole in Mr. Gutierrez's phone activity. It should be treated equally. I agree. When they took all that, what is called, it's not called Illuminati, well, the spray that makes stuff glow, it didn't. Yeah, I agree. The baseball bat that's missing. Now, couldn't show evidence of there being a baseball bat in that apartment. But if you are a baseball coach of sorts, and you have the gloves, you have the balls, you have the everything around, there should be a bat. But in the closing, they said that Zach brought something, baseball bat, the back end of an axe. Why would you use the handle of an axe to beat someone? And if I have yet to see an axe where the back end is wood, it's steel, all of it. It's a steel head. So yeah, there are so many holes in the prosecution's case. I said this on other people's streams, and I believe I said it. I can see stalkerish behavior, but on the other hand, when I did my mock closing a few days ago, I brought up that, and in my opinion, I don't have the exact times now, but the ramp up from Zach started with Sadie abandoning the kids to go drinking in Mexico. That's when it was ramped up. Now, he might have known about a new boyfriend of sorts before that, but in my in my mind, that's the up ramp. And I wish they would have pushed that in the defense. This wasn't a ramp up until Sadie abandoned the kids to go drinking. Stream it on your channel. What? I think I missed something here. If you mean the sentencing, yeah, I will probably do that. It depends a little on my work schedule as well, because if there is a sentence in the morning in the US, then it's afternoon here, and I might be at work. I will have to check that. Now, if it is lunchtime and forward, then I'm back from work. So that should be. I did jury duty with a woman. She started to fill the holes in the story with "this could have happened." We had to tell over and over, only use what's in the evidence. That's a really good observation, because this could have happened was, in my opinion, the totality of the prosecution's closing argument. He must be the unluckiest guy in the world, because this might have happened, this maybe, that maybe, that maybe. And Vices said it best, that every maybe is an equal amount of maybe nots. That in itself should have been reasonable doubt. And as he pushed the narrative, now most people don't have my background or other law tubers' background in law and stuff, how to value evidence. So at the first, maybe my mind would, oh, that's a bad idea. That should tell the jury that. But as we saw, it didn't. And it's amazing. Not amazing at it's amazing that these people did not see it. That's a decent theory. and it's been brought up. And I don't know why, because the prosecution said, oh, it was only $60. And I don't find that credible at all. Because his friend said he owed him a lot of money. Now, $60 might be a lot of money if you're homeless or dirt poor. But that friend didn't seem to be dirt poor. So when he says a lot of money, it tells me it's more than $60. And apparently, according to testimony, I believe, it was reoccurring that he was owed money. And again, shared 40 years old and shared bank account with his mother, and mommy buying him a car. And besides, there's two main reasons that is worldwide that people get killed, and it's love, money, sometimes both. And he owed money. Now, I don't know if I was under the impression that Mr. Gutierrez had children with more than one woman. But I can only found the obituary that he was survived by 2 children. Now, I don't know if it's 1 or 2 baby mamas, but we are talking about what I remember from looking at the Wisconsin alimony data government site, something like that, we are talking about $400 to $500 a month, and that's not chump change. And then owing money right and left, and then have these shady friends. Because if you don't point fingers. Now, I'm only speculating. Let me just show this for a while. There, so nobody can accuse me of defamatory. I'm asking questions, I'm analyzing, I'm bringing forward alternatives for why. I'm not saying these people are guilty. I'm saying there's a probability. It's a possibility. It's beyond reasonable doubt that something else might have been a cause of Mr. Gutierrez's disappearance. And if, as the prosecution said, well, these phone records was only SAC manufacturing alibi. And yes, I know there was some kerfuffle between him, the girlfriend, misremembering, trying to, well, yes, let's just say, and this is not legal advice, don't talk to cops. If they accuse you of anything, don't do that in court, by the way. Not legal advice, just general observation. Yes, Wendy, we are just speculating. Where was I? Yes, if SAC is manufacturing alibi, why isn't these 2 witnesses manufacturing alibis, driving an hour out of the way, trespassing? Hey, where's our friend? Why aren't there? Look at him. Don't look at us. Look at him. And one of them was the guy who threw away a rug at that time, which he claimed, oh, it was cat piss. We have no evidence because the Kenosha police did not investigate. I'm having connection. I'm having a slight connection problem here, I see. I hope you still can hear me. Yeah, I agree. And that also is something that bothered the living crap out of me, that the landfill thing. Oh, we didn't have enough personnel to check it. We had to check the van. I say it's bullshit. Pure and utter bullshit. And because they already had the work van. They had to have 1 or 2, maybe 3 people go through it, spring luminol, and you didn't need the entire police force checking that van. There was plenty of it. And they had the subpoena of sorts to go. They already had that part of the landfill covered. I remember they saying that the landfill owners agreed to seal off that part of the landfill. And then they just, screw it. We go with SAC instead of checking, because the dumpsters had been picked up and driven and emptied at the landfill. It's so bad. It's so bad. Yeah. The homeowner who SAC did demolition work at says she saw no rug. But the daughter claims it. But, well, we all know by now my opinions about the daughter's credibility as a witness. And there was someone else also that claims there was a rug in the back. I don't know who. I don't remember. Cheers. Fiery red. Good to see you. This is Clontarf. I don't know it's an Irish whiskey, blended. It's a decent one. Cheers. Carpet in the back of Holly Golly. Carpet in the back of the van was removed long before the crime, as the lady worked for. Thank you. Day 8 timestamp. Skål. Let's see if we have. What did I miss? Are you more? Let me. No, it should be working. Try to refresh the page, maybe. Or try a different web browser. In Denmark, we don't have a pool. So I'm missing a whole interesting conversation in the chat, but I'm glad you're having it. You all have fun. Leah, it was so clear the DA made up the missing couple in the van to fit their story. Yeah. And that's the interesting part, because she testified as a state witness to this. That and all of a sudden the daughter remembers that the rug was there in a later testimony. It's because that was never mentioned in the deposition, not one bit. And that's her, as I understand it, from the deposition she made, the first interview with the cops, the same day or the day after the disappearance, she outlined a story. And as I understand it, not much of that was unchanged at trial. The broken back. Oh, are you an attorney? Good for you. Oh, that would be interesting. Yeah, that would be really interesting to see. Dershowitz, I've heard that name before. No, Scandinavia doesn't have jury trials. In Sweden, we have lower court, that is one judge and 4 layman judge. Though the judge is appointed, and also the layman judges. And the layman judges system is under criticism because these are appointed by the political parties. And they are having issues finding people to appoint. So I believe the average age of appointed layman judges is over 60, at least. And then, so we have the lower court, then you appeal to the appellate court, and that's almost equal to the United States. They only go through what was brought in as evidence in the lower court. Then you can appeal to the Supreme Court. And at the Supreme Court, you can move in, try to get accepted new evidence if you believe that if new stuff has been found, that's extremely rare. Thank you so much. Now, some clarifications here. I am a junior rep. I have a law degree. I work with law, but in Sweden, the term lawyer is protected. And that's, so I'm not part of what we call passing the bar. So I haven't done that. So if I were in the United States, yes, I could call myself a lawyer, but I can't in Sweden. That's hence my junior rep, and I do labor law. And what I do, mostly in negotiations, locally, regionally, nationally, trial preparations. I do research and stuff like that. And I avoid trials like the plague because I wear my feelings at my sleeve, And in order to be in trial, I have another issue with my face, and that is, according to my sisters and colleagues, when I have to close down to not show emotion, I have a resting serial killer face. Oh, it's not synchronized. I don't know how to fix that, I'm afraid. No apologies needed, because, as I said, if I were in the United States, I could call myself a lawyer 7 days a week. So it's just a small difference in, well, it's lawyer in Sweden is protected. It's a protected term. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, that's what you do. Huh? We call it nämndeman in Sweden. It's the same. I guess you're meaning layman judge or legman in Denmark. Good to see you, Broken Baker. I can Danish. I can read it. I can somewhat understand it, since in a clear day I see Öresundsbron, the Öresund Bridge, from here. Some live quite close. Neighbors. Layman, yeah. My approach in the appeal, is it true that the DNA has to be turned over for testing analysis, including the unknown DNA on Junior's phone? I don't know, but I would believe that the DNA evidence, the reports, are turned over, but I'm not exactly sure about the test result, but those should have been in that report. The DNA markers, they should have been in there. I'm not sure. You have to ask Vices or someone else in the US, a US attorney. Broken Baker. So you're living in occupied Danish territory. Let's drink. To be honest, Skåne, the area, has been fought over by the Danes and the Swedes, and somewhat consider themselves a sovereign country of sorts. Well, now it's Swedish and have been so for a couple of 100 years. The piece in Roskilde, if I remember correctly. Mads says, I don't think you can bring in new facts on appeal in the US system. No, I think they own, when they write their appeal, they write down what they want, the big issues are, at least on the civil. Let's just say, we can all torment Vices on his stream. If he's streaming tomorrow, or we can try to bother Rob on his Friday night's frenzy. Steve, yeah, he should be the best. Kurt, that's interesting. That's an appeal. Steve Gosney is sick, so I won't bother him. And I don't remember if I've been on stream with Kurt yet, but I haven't sent out any invites for other people to this stream, by the way. At least not for this first part with me explaining explaining why I feel so much about this case, much more than I should. And if you are a bit late to the stream, it's early in the stream, but to make it short, where I grew up, it was 40 minutes from the big city of Karlstad, which has roughly 100,000 inhabitants. I grew up countryside, redneck country, so to speak, and I grew up with people like Zach and his family. I've met people like Sadie and Junior my entire youth. So that is why I have such a hard time letting this go. Gosney talked about he had a murder trial coming. Yeah, then he will be off limits for a bit. But Mads, you complain about only being able to shop for alcohol in the liquor monopoly. We built that bridge just so that Swedes have easy access to liquor. Yeah, down here it's a blessing that we have this bridge. So in less than an hour, I can be in Denmark buying cheaper booze, because booze in Sweden is expensive. Oh, for instance, Clontarf it's a blended. It's not the lowest, as you call it in the United States. It's not on the lower shelf, but it's close to the lower shelves. And in Ireland, I think that would be maybe 12 to 15 bucks bottle of Scotch, or not Scotch, whiskey. Sweden, 25 bucks, 239 Swedish krona, which is roughly 24 bucks. So it is expensive to get drunk in Sweden. But as you might remember, where I grew up, this is moonshine country. I know what to make of a gas-lined copper tube and a 50-gallon kettle. Let's just leave it like that. And if Swedish law enforcement, no, of course not. I would never dream of building such a device here. What happened? My StreamYard just had made a hiccup. Can you still hear me? In Ireland, booze is cheaper in pubs to curb domestic abuse. I blame the bikes for saying, okay. Not here in Sweden. A pint of lager in a pub in Sweden, 8 to 10 bucks. Hello, Solomon. Good to see you. Broken Baker looked up some of the bourbon Nick Ricada recommended. It's like 1,200 Danish krona. He said he paid 80 bucks. Yeah. And it will probably still cheaper in Denmark than in Sweden. Oh. Hi, so okay, I did not catch that. Sorry, Solomon. Welcome to my stream. And my prayers go out to you. I'm not a religious person, but I do know when to say a few words to the big guy when I need to. Yeah, I hope the Anderson family has good representation, so that they can fight this fight with the appellate court, that they can get the representation they deserve. Because as we've been discussing here for the past hour and 20 minutes, there are so many holes in this. It's shameful that the jury came to the conclusion it did, but sadly, this is the new reality, and I wish that you weren't subjected to this. But yeah, not much I can say to comfort you other than to say, I wish you weren't in this situation, and in my opinion, you should not have ever been in this situation. And as I said earlier, if you have the opportunity to rewatch this, I go through some of the real issues I have with this case. And yesterday, I had my video up with my initial thoughts on the conviction, and prior to that, I had my video up where I reviewed the prosecution's closing argument, and prior to that, I had my mock closing argument. So I do not give legal advice. I'm not suggesting you should show it to your attorneys, because they are much better. They should be much better on this than I am. But stay strong. Tax on alcohol in Canada is well over 50%. Yeah, and I read that they are increasing it somewhere. So yeah. $10 is normal in Denmark for half a liter. That's about a pint in a pub if you don't drink craft beer. Okay, I didn't know that. Well, then why do you ever want to go to a pub if if a pint is called of the same stuff is, what is it? A buck? Yeah. Solomon, every motion the defense submitted was denied prior to trial. Yeah, I speculated about that earlier on other issues, because as I said, there are some things that should have opened doors in the trial as well, especially that hole in Zach's phone activity. The equal hole on Junior's phone activity should have been able to be used to equally prove that he had been to Zach's car and coughed up a smoker's lung loogie that got stuck on the wall. You can do, I still have Dragonfly Ladies, so we can go through these again fast. About, yeah, the missing carpet, as she claims, was not missing on the 16th, but she also said the stains were not there, and I played the devil's advocate that she might have meant other stains in the car. But then again, it might as well have been she was talking about the stains under the carpet, and if the carpet was there, there's no way for her to have seen those stains. And also, smelt of bleach. Prove it. Testimony is not good enough for me. Prove it. Prove that it smells. It's like when a cop stops a car because somehow between that car driving and cop in the car, he still smelled of marijuana. Yeah, sure. And then this, what had we? Yeah, defense calling their own DNA blood expert. If there was a pre-trial motion about the DNA and blood, and I know you weren't here earlier, Mr. Anderson. This, again, is not evidence. It's me speculating by the information I can dig up on my end. And as I said, I have a friend. He works as a coroner's assistant, so he's not an expert witness in no shape or form. But I described, he doesn't know anything about this case, and so I described the pool of blood that was left in the apartment as a 1.5 by 1.5 of rug and probably soaked. How long would that take to dry up? And he said that it depends on how warm was it in the apartment, the humidity, many different factors, but somewhere it would take 30 to 40 hours for a pool of that size, and also the thickness of the rug. We don't know if it was a small rug or a big rug or thick rug, but 30 to 40 hours was his estimate. And to fit that into the prosecution's case, that this must have happened between 9:37 and 10 o'clock on the 17th, and the cops didn't show up at the apartment until about lunchtime 2 days later. That is somewhere between 35 and 40 hours later. And if the blood is wet enough to transfer from the carpet to the shoe, and then again transfer from the shoe to another area as a footprint, as a bloody footprint, it's possible, but unlikely, in my opinion. And it blows the door open for the actual disappearance, beating, killing of Junior to more or less from the 9:37 on the 17th to the entire 25-hour period, in my opinion. I haven't I will go back because I've been talking so much. The other act's evidence that Josh allowed was disgusting. Yeah, because growing weed doesn't say anything about a person being violent. In my opinion, if you also smoked off his stash, it should have said otherwise, because very few smokers become violent, in my opinion. Let's see if there's more there. The other acts. Well, if you also the percentage match of the DNA to the incomplete DNA profile they had from Mr. Guterres. Yeah, and because if they have solid DNA match, they will say it's 1 in a trillion, 1 in a quintillion, it was someone else. They will tell you the exact number. There wasn't a whisper, just a degree of scientific certainty. And we don't know how many they compared it with. Did they compare it to just Junior and Zach? Did they compare it with Junior and his immediate family? Did they compare it with the DNA register? I didn't see anything in the testimony that said, did they compare this DNA to the register? If I'm wrong, tell me so. But if they did that and they came up with 100 other with equal amounts of possibility, well, that's the entire questioning about the gun. Yeah, that was horrible, and it was bait from the prosecution side about the gun. They knew damn well what the daughter had said. Well, at least up till that last outburst. But then again, in her depositions, nothing about it, apparently. So, in my opinion, that was the mother's words spoken through the daughter's mouth. Yeah. But they have what the prosecution gave them, the defense. But, and I'm not in criminal law, I'm in labor law. I do, excuse me, when I do investigations and inspections of work sites where accidents have happened, I do make, I have my document risk factors, stuff like that, and also if it was an accident that caused a life, I will also inspect that site. So I do have some knowledge about investigating the labor law equivalent of a crime scene, if you know what I mean. No, as I said earlier, this me giving up. I have a file on the computer, and I will do follow-ups on this, not on a daily basis, maybe not even on a weekly basis, but when something happens, I will do follow-ups. And if I think of something in the trial that I believe should be brought to attention, I will do maybe a 5 to 10 minute video about it. Yeah, I agree. They say you can't get around it, but if we don't know the percentage of the possibility that was Mr. Guterres, because Kenosha and the area is 100,000 people. If it is 1 in a 10,000 match, well, that means there's 9 other people that are a match. that's reasonable doubt, in my opinion. Don't Sweden has arbetstillsyn? Yeah, there is an authority that does it, but the union is also involved in that investigation because we represent. They do the investigation, but we represent the victim of either the victim of the accident or for instance, if there is a collision between a forklift and a person, and one of them is a member, we represent the member. Yeah, they said it, in their opinion, by the looks of it, blah, blah, blah. But as I said earlier, it might as well have been, it's brownish stain with those that says it was projectile there. And as I said earlier, smoker's lung, cough, cough, tiniest loogie gets stuck. But since they didn't test it, that's what you get. I don't get why they can present DNA if it's not 100% sure. We go through a 5 minute of how they make sure it's from the person in every case I have had, and they say they can improve it, not a maybe. Yeah, if it's not, if there's it's probably him, not good enough. It's 1 in 100, not good enough. 1 in 1,000, not good enough. 1 in 10,000, not good enough. You have to be up in numbers where the evidence shouldn't show we couldn't exclude him. It should say we can exclude everyone else on the planet, more or less. Because if you have followed a few court cases where DNA evidence is up, they will spell out 1 in a centillion, 1 in 440 billion. They spell it out if they have those numbers. Yeah, it's science. It shouldn't be degraded to an opinion. Was there a toothbrush left at the henna? You probably mean Guterres. I don't remember, but you have an answer here. They didn't look. Why didn't anyone push more about the glove left at the crime scene that no one tested? The defense did bring it up, but there's apparently you can't ask to, was there a glove? Yes. Did you test it? No. And why? And then the cop or whatever explains it. And it's something about not compiling questions. But there was so much crap going on with that crime scene, it's ridiculous. Just that, oh, we didn't find the mother or whoever did find the phone a few days later. 1 hour 40, I have 20 minutes before I can use more proper language about what I think about that, because again, they didn't look in the freezer. They didn't process the handle on the freezer. It's such a bad job. Equally important to prevent sex case from becoming case law. What it did to infringe all our ability to have a fair trial. Well, as I understand it, if it's not brought up in the appellate court, it can't be used as precedents. But we want it to be brought up to the appellate court. So that's a huge struggle you all have to bring it there with the proper documentation, with the proper objections. The only thing I can do is continue to cover this to make sure at least my audience won't forget it. And if I go on another stream a month or two down the line, I probably will bring up, don't remember, the sentence is May 16th, something like that. So I will try to at least make sure people in my little part of the law tube doesn't forget about it. And what else can we say about? Yeah. Watch just 1 hour of future evidence. That is the way evidence is supposed to be presented, and the type of evidence where it is zero doubt, firm timeline, DNA 100% match, video, etc. Yeah, I agree. May 16th around 1 o'clock. That would be 6 hours later here, so 7 o'clock my time. Then I should be able to cover this. I will just make Friday the 16th. Yeah. Yeah, it's in my calendar now, so I will be able to cover that actually. I just checked my calendar and I'm making sure I'll be home. Whew. I had other subject I was supposed to bring up today as well. Not that it's that much important, but I wanted to show you my swoop. I got a swoop. Did you see it? It's a Tuesday. Yeah, okay. It is. Yeah, sorry, it's a Tuesday, but yeah, I will be able to cover it. That swoop is my fire-farting Norwegian dragon. Yes. Is that a dragon farting fire? Yes, it is. That comes from a glitch from an old computer game from the 90s that I asked a Twitter friend of mine. His name is Matthew Self, and he did it for me. So now I have because if you all were around when Hoglaw had his Lawyers and Dragon, he had an event with a dragon where he snuck up on him from behind. And that's when I'm remember this old glitch in a old computer game where instead of the breathing fire, he came out the other end, and I just fell over laughing, thinking, oh, if the game master just have thought about that fire could come out of both ends, then he could have snuck up on him. Yeah, Skyrim. And Matthew self, he couldn't make anything from that because the resolution was too low, so he built one new for me. I think the fire is supposed to be coming out of the other end of the dragon. Yeah, normally yes, but well, I don't. Now, I'm from redneck country, Swedish redneck country, and may or may not have tried to light my farts on fire. May or may not have succeeded, and I may or may not have become hairless. Yeah, so it's not out of the realm of possibilities that a dragon can spew fire from both ends. Well, I can go over some of the other things I was planning on going over a bit fast. That's some moonshine if it burns in both ends. As you might know, if you have followed me for a while, I covered the Andrew Tate-case, and he's still in jail, awaiting the prosecution to bring this to trial, and found out somehow I managed on StreamYard to take away the article I was supposed to show you, and I will just tell you about it. You can find this out by yourself also. But apparently, Mr. Tate asked for a hairdresser in prison because he wasn't happy about the prison hairdresser, which more is don't know why, because he shaves his head anyways. Maybe it's for his brother because he needs to take care of his hair plugs. And he also asked for gaming consoles because he's not happy with just having TV, books, and access to a computer. He doesn't have his own. He does not have access to the internet, which I imagine is the reason he wants to have a game console, because from a game console has to be internet accessed, and through that he can communicate outwards. What else? Amber Heard had her counterclaims against her insurance company, and the judge had made a notion that he would judge against her on the counterclaim, and apparently she lost, so she can't bring forward a counterclaim against her insurance company. Smash that like button, like Amber Heard dog shit the bed. Yeah, this tiny dog managed to make an equal size. Yeah, sure. Well, she apparently, the paperwork haven't been submitted yet. I've been checking in with the real Laura B, But those aren't out in the open yet. Who are you looking pretty for in prison? Your guess is as good as mine. And I know Mr. Tate has complained about, he claims there's cockroaches and stuff like that in Romanian prisons. And Romanian prisons aren't the best in the world, but they're not the worst in the world either. It is clean. So this is just him playing for his audience, in my opinion. And well, yours, great Nick. I'm so glad SAC supporters and members of his family were able to be here today. I'm very honored to have seen members of Sakurai's family here today. And as I said earlier, I grew up in, pardon my French, redneck country. I've known people like Zach and his probably Zach and his family all my life. Some may or may not be in my own family, because some of my family is still living in that redneck country. And that's why I'm having such a hard time letting go of this case, because I recognize so much of my youth in Zach, to be honest. And as I said, I had a friend, sadly not longer with us. Jan was his name. I will not show his picture or say his full name, because I haven't talked to his family. But he was in a situation with parent alienation, and well, he managed to screw crazy. And so there's so much in Zach's life that I recognize from when I grew up. According to Binger, Rittenhouse prosecutor, Schroeder is all bark and no bite. Whatever people think of Binger, he seems to be right about that. That's interesting, because Schroeder is his boss, or was his boss. I don't know if Binger is still with the prosecution's office. Oh, that's interesting. And he's aging, and apparently he doesn't do much criminal cases anymore, and he was brought up for this trial. And it should be, the judges, I believe they are on more or less on a schedule. If this case comes in, that judge, this at that day or that time, blah 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 blah. But somehow the Judge Schroeder got appointed this case. Oh, you mean, yeah, Binger, Schroeder is all bark and no bite. Yeah, Schroeder is the judge. Binger and the prosecutor in this case is the district attorney, who is Binger's boss. That's right. Sorry. Thank you for the correction. Thank you so much. I know Jan's kids are adults now, but I have contact with Jan's sister still. And yeah, sadly he's not with us anymore. His health deteriorated very fast after the kids were alienated from him. And but it's a long time ago. But this was Judge Schroeder's last criminal case. Huh. If this was supposed to be his last criminal case, it should have been not a murder trial, in my opinion. The appeal will be with some, this will be go up to the appellate courts. That's a completely different panel of judges. Yeah, and apparently his wife is having health issues, and this was his last case. So, but well, we will see what the appellate court says about his conduct in this. But if, as I said, I haven't seen the pre-trial motions, so I can't give my opinion about that. But according to Solomon here, they were denied a lot in the pre-trial motions. They lost a lot there, and that, well, your appellate lawyers, hopefully they are good people, good lawyers who can bring this together for you. There was only one other judge in the 3rd District Court that could judge Sachs' trial. All other justices had personal relationship with RG. Yeah, he used to work in the court. That's right. Then it's amazed it wasn't moved out of that jurisdiction. That's interesting. I didn't know that, but it makes sense since Mr. Gutierrez, his mother is something with a court something, but I'm only speculating now. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When Gravely mentioned a body was found, we was talking about a hypothetical situation. Yeah, no, in my opinion, to play devil's advocate, he misspoke, but yeah, in my opinion, that was his wishful thinking and hypotheticals around the entire trial that was shining through. Motion to get it moved and were denied. Yeah, that's should be interesting to get in appeal, but then again, not a US lawyer. I can't give legal advice, and I won't give legal advice, just pure speculation. But that sounds like I will try to ask next time I'm on stream with a US lawyer about that. Will you try to move out of the area? Well, the appellate court will be this for the entire district. I don't know. I don't know Wisconsin. I'm not even that sure about US law in general. New judge and fresh blood. No pun intended, I hope. But yeah, I checked in on the local news, and they are not unbiased, to put it And they have been doing that since the arrest. So in my opinion, not moving it out from this area that should be good grounds for appeal. Should be. Yeah. Hey, we are 2 hours in. I can start using language. And now, if you're sensitive to foul language, this is your warning. I might go into some interesting wordings. First, the daughter mentioned the gun being moved, not always have been in, what was it, California, that she'd seen it in Wisconsin, in Zach's house. That was a bait for what was coming next when she said, I was threatened with that gun. And there's no way to put the shit back into the horse. There's no way any jurors can put that out of the mind. And as I said it on another stream where I almost got in trouble for, you can't unfuck a clusterfuck. It's impossible. That, if there was any doubt in a juror's mind before that was removed right then and there. That's unbe-fucking-lievable. And I don't know why they didn't move for a mistrial at that moment. We have Solomon here in the chat. I see seen it here in the chat. Good to see you seen it. And I don't know if it was Zach wanting it to be over with, because he's been in jail for almost 3 years. That he was confident in the defense that was presented. But then again, you can always move for a mistrial, have it denied, then you have it on the record. Dude, no. Also, you have that if they move for a mistrial, then there's a new trial years down the line, and the prosecution can instruct the witnesses to hypothetically, allegedly, in my opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever, the testimonies can be streamlined now then when they know that, whoops, that might not work. So it's a gamble with a mistrial. But then again, if they move for a mistrial, you have the possibility for a mistrial with prejudice, because that would be the second time the prosecution's mistakes caused a mistrial. But then again, I'm not a US lawyer. That is for US lawyers, and especially for Zach's appellate lawyers to bring up if they feel that is a possible way to move forward. And then let's go to the prosecutor, that monumental asshole. What a pile of steaming garbage that person is. That slimy son of a bitch. The way he conducted the opening statement. Sea of blood. Blood everywhere. Almost no areas without blood on it. By his opening statement, it was a slaughterhouse in there. And then we saw the crime scene photos. And I'm like, where's all the blood? I see the pool there. I see that. They have to move in close to get pictures of the wall, the droplets, whatever, from the wall. And nowhere in that apartment they found Zach's DNA. Nowhere. And they tried to break it down to, well, we didn't check it everywhere, so it might have been somewhere. The fuck? Absence of evidence is not evidence. That's it. Just by admitting that you didn't check all the possible areas, the fridge door, the window that was slightly opened, the light switch, the remote control, the TV, anything that could have been touched to close down the apartment, to make a dark apartment. And it was just a piss poor job from the investigators. And with this conviction, they got confirmation that they can continue to do a piss poor job and still get a conviction. And that is horrible for the people of Kenosha County. Horrible. So everybody in Kenosha that cheers for this conviction, that could be you next in Kenosha. Because if the absence of phone activity is proof you sped down the road, you blitzed attacked, you managed to carry a 270-pound man in a rug, rolled up in a rug, without leaving drag marks, droplets. If they can, then they can prove anything with the absence of phone activity. If you're having an online argument with your ex's new boyfriend, and he turns out missing of some sorts. Now, yes, the circumstances here leave suspicion. But was these suspicions directed in the right direction? He owed money. He owed alimony, $400 to $500 a month. He owed friends' money, co-workers' money, people he hired to do work. He owed them money. And yeah, when he was asked about if they found shoes in the apartment. That's right. Huh, I didn't think of that. I remember the testimony, but they didn't actually found any shoes in the apartment. Jesus. I'm trying not to use cursive words with religious words, but for fuck's sake. If they didn't find shoes for Mr. Gutierrez, where were they? Did Zach steal them too or something? Motherfucker. There's so much stuff in this. And I said this on streams and on previous videos. I'm not entirely sure Mr. Gutierrez is dead. Yes, he hasn't spoken to his kids and stuff like that. And according to his mother, he hasn't contacted her. But for me, it's reasonable with the amount of money he was owed, and that's, yeah, I know the prosecution says it was only $60. I call bullshit on that, because his friend, one of the witnesses in this, said he owed him a lot of money. $60 is not a lot of money unless you're homeless or in a real money pinch. Yes, then 60 bucks could be a lot of money. But I didn't get the notion that that witness was a person who thought $60 was a lot of money. And I agree with Solomon. Yes, there was evidence of stalkerish behavior against Sadie. Yeah. But as I said earlier, that behavior that went from, I wonder what Sadie is doing, to why the fuck is my ex doing, abandoning my children and going to Mexico to drink? What the flaming fuck is going on? Yeah, I would. And then the custody case, I would have files on everyone around her just to make a case for a judge to gain custody. Because it's not normal, in my opinion, my mind, for a mother to abandon the kids. I don't care if it was her best friend. You don't do that to go drinking in Mexico, especially not withholding it from the father. And yeah, and that's, in my opinion, that's when this escalated to what might, I'm not sure, in my opinion, it rose to the level needed to stalking. But I can see a jury finding it. But I can also see it argued against. But I can see, but that's the only thing. Mr. Guterres wasn't scared at all. He was not worried. There's text evidence. He was not worried. And Mr. Guterres is a big guy. 6 foot tall, 270 pounds. He's my size. I'm a bit taller, not as heavy, but he's my size. People our size aren't easily intimidated. And especially if Mr. Guterres has the friends he has. And I can give you an example from my own life, because I said if there is time, I might do story time from my life. Let me just see if I can find this so I can bring it up. One moment, please. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. What the? Sorry, I will have it up as soon as. No, not that one. That one. This is what I got the other day. This was from Vice's chat. This guy. Now I already checked the mail. It's a fake mail and the name too, so I'm not afraid to show it. He was behaving like a real asshole in Vice's chat, so I told him to stop trolling and chill out. And this is what he sent. Don't ever call me a troll, blah, blah, blah. He was questioning that Zenit was who she claimed he was. And I know through Jeff that he had checked it. He says, I can find out anything about you thanks to a site here in Sweden. And I know some very bad people in Sweden. And if I forget, happy birthday on my birthday. Perhaps you shouldn't insult everyone just because you think you have a platform. Blah, blah, blah. And I've been a union rep for over 30 years. I've been threatened with all kinds of weapons, all kinds of violence by people who actually have the ability to hurt people. And this little shit, Cheeto stained finger underwear, living in his basement, piece of garbage. And what I don't know what he was trying to do, but it was my first YouTube threat, so to speak. So I'm kind of proud. And to give a story from, I was working in Gothenburg at the time at a place called the Rock Bar at Avenyn. That's the place in Gothenburg where all the bars are. This was on an offshoot to that, to Avenyn. And it was the last place where leather vests were allowed. I'm not going to say what kind of leather vest we are talking about, but I think you get what I mean. Just Google motorcycle wars Gothenburg in the 1990s, and you get my drift. Now, I was working at that bar, and I was placed as a card dealer. And so there I was, placing cards, blackjack, 21. And some of these vest-wearing people had showed up, and nothing unusual. They showed up there because it was the last place on Avenue they were allowed in. And, well, one of them came up, started playing, and nothing much of that. Then another one of them come up, started playing, and then around the corner comes... Now, as I said, I'm around 6'3", at the time maybe 220. That was probably one of the biggest men I've ever seen in my life. And he looked like he was a biker. And, well, sat down, this enormous human being, and started playing, and well, nothing more, back and forth, chatting, having a good time. But he started to spread out his bets until he covered all all the places. And that told me at least that, okay, this is someone of importance. Because if there's 3 bikers from the same club at a blackjack table, and one of them more or less tells the other ones to take a hike, and they do. Okay, and then this happened. I'm on a streak. I can't lose as a croupier. And he placed bets. It didn't matter if I had a 4 or a 6 or a 10, anything, and he filled the table with the maximum limit. And I just saw him in, getting darker, clenched teeth. And that would be the time I told myself, yeah, I should have worn a diaper today because this is not good. I was more or less shitting myself. And I allowed him to mix the decks, shuffle the cards, and it didn't matter. He raised the stakes above the table's limit, so I had to call my boss and said, this is happening. And he says, yeah, you should allow it. Wait, I'll be there in a minute to cover if anything happens. And I kept winning. And he gets more and more mad. And I'm in real fear for my life there. And then apparently someone saw that, because a guy, and I know who that was, because that was a well-known person, tapped him on his shoulder and said, time to go now. And he just sat there for another minute until he left. And then this guy tells me, you should use the back door. Shuffled, locked up, out the back door. Now that back door leads to an alley that then leads out to the road. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm not leaving this alley because there was a locked gate. So I'm sitting down behind the dumpster, scared shitless. And a few hours later, bar closes, people start to go away, going home and stuff like that. And then I sneaked back in. There was my owner. He was talking, the owner of the bar, my boss as a croupier, and they were talking to, this well-known figure. And so I managed to get the attention of my boss. He says, well, let me drive you home. Okay. And so dove into his car, drove me home. And then next day, I get a call, come back to the bar. We need to talk. All right. So I get back, get inside, back alley, inside, in the back door, open the door, got into the pub. There was this huge, 5 feet between his eyes kind of guy. And I'm, Jesus Christ. And he walks up to me, reaches out his hand. I conducted poorly yesterday. I know it wasn't your fault. I had a bad day with the cards. This won't happen again. Okay. Now, so with that in mind, that as my 30 years as a union rep, working at bars and stuff, that is what that would make me scared. This little shit. I know some very bad people. people in Sverige. Go fuck yourself, you little twat. Because, you know, as a union rep, I've represented a lot of people. And my bet would be that I know more bad people than he does. So if he chooses to, and he managed to contact some people that know me, you'll have a nice day. So that was story time from the life of union rep, not really related to my union work, but I thought I would bring it up with now when I had my first threat as a YouTuber. I've not been shot at least, but I had baseball bats swung at me, knives reaching out to me and stuff like that. And yeah, life as a union rep is not always the easiest way to, but I've had a lot of fun. Yeah, and I still have a lot of fun as a union rep. Now I'm winding down a bit, being more and more mentor to the next generation of union reps in Sweden. And yeah, that gives me the time to do this YouTube stuff. I see here that Solomon, if that piece of garbage is, oh, did you ask how you got my email? Well, it's on my page. If you go into about, you can, for business inquiries, view email address. So it's not hard, and I'm really not hiding. I ask of you to not dox me anywhere, but it's very easy to find me. There's not many people with my name. But then again, if someone managed to get out to my farm, for example, these two morons that paid Zach a visit, if that happened here, if I'm in my garden, I'm probably having tools out. And if two strangers came up to me going, we're looking for a friend, blah, 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 booga booga. If I have a shovel in my hand, I'm going to use it. You're on my fucking property. Get the fuck out of my property. Thank you, Nasos. Congratulations on your first YouTube hate mail. You're well on your way. First of many to success. Yeah, the more hate mail I get, the more successful I am. Oh. Yeah. 2.5 hours in. If you bring beer and cigars, I have beer and cigars. Yeah. If you're friendly, I'm friendly. Yeah. It feels like I have exhausted the air. I appreciate Solomon and Sinit being here, but I don't want to be repetitive because you can always rewatch this stream and my other videos about the Zachariah Anderson trial and how I feel about that trial, the prosecution, and everybody. Please if you like my content, subscribe, push that bell thingy, and yeah. You all have a nice day. Talk to you later.